Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Triple Crown Wargaming with me, the Duke. And today I'm going to be talking through a couple of models, units that I'm really looking forward to getting on the tabletop in an Old World Battle Report soon, specifically for the Empire, or the Empires of Man, I think is their full title in the Old World. So I've got 4 or 5 things, a little bit like we've done last week if you're watching this at the time of recording. If not, if you're watching it in the future, we'd have probably done one for all of the 9 factions by now, the 9 core factions at least. But we're basically just talking through a couple of things we're really looking forward to, why we're looking forward to using them. And going from there. Now, as ever, it's worth saying at this point, we do not have the books in front of us. So when we do get the books, hopefully very soon, some things may have changed, so some things we say here might not be 100% accurate. We might miss something if it's not been spoken about too much in a battle report or another video on another channel who do have the books. But yeah, we're going to go over what we've seen so far. And my first thing that I'm really looking forward to using, really, and sort of getting on the tabletop, is the Grandmaster / Chapter Master, I think it is, the one sort of under him, character. So this is a mounted character. Sorry, they have to be mounted. You do obviously still pay the points for their mount. By the looks of it, they could be mounted on 3 things. So either a Barded Warhorse, pretty standard. Pegasus, also pretty standard. I'm pretty sure you could buy a Pegasus mount for a Grandmaster in 8th edition. I never used one, so I could be wrong. However, you can also now buy a Demigryph as a mount, which, to be honest, I think is something they missed completely out of the 8th edition book. I think that should always have been an option. It didn't really make sense that Demigryph Knights existed, but a Grandmaster couldn't ride a Demigryph. That never made sense to me. But I'm glad they have amended that in the Old World. I'm glad that we're still going to be able to, or we are now rather, going to be able to have a Grandmaster leading his Demigryph Knights. The Chapter Master is sort of effectively what an Empire Captain is to an Empire General or a General of the Empire. It's just sort of what would have been a hero level version. He's got a slightly lower stat line, only 2 wins. I think he drops a weapon skill, initiative and leadership as well, and probably an attack for quite a few less points. It looks like, though, they only come with heavy armour as standard, both of these guys. You can upgrade it to full plate armour for probably just a couple of points, 2-3 points, something like that. They've got all of the sort of rules that you'd imagine heavy cavalry would have. By the looks of it, they've got countercharge, first charge, swift stride. They are also stubborn, which is nice, although by the looks of it, stubborn doesn't confer to a unit now like it did. So before, you'd need 1 model effectively with stubborn in the unit, and the entire unit was stubborn. That could be a character. In the Old World, it looks like the entire unit, every model in the unit has to have the stubborn special rule. So you can buy stubborn for your Empire Knights, or Empire Knights, the Inner Circle, I think, actually can only buy stubborn. So, there's that option, and I imagine that's why they've given them the stubborn rule. They've also got their unique rule, which is Master of Battle, which they've had for a long time, as long as I can remember anyway. If they join a unit of Knights, and that's normal Knights, Inner Circle Knights, or if they join Demigryph Knights, the unit gains immune psychology. So, as I say, they've had this rule, certainly in 8th, for as long as I can remember, they've had this rule. So no real big changes there. But yeah, really looking forward to using him. Probably a Grandmaster, maybe a Chapter Master if I can't fit the Grandmaster in. By the looks of it, the Chapter Master stat line is still good. It's still very solid. Obviously, can take slightly fewer magic items, 50 points rather than 100. But yeah, overall, really looking forward to using them specifically on a Demigryph, because we've not had that option before. Another thing we haven't had the option for before, or at least didn't have the option for in 8th, is the Warrior Priests of Ulrich. It's not just Sigmar anymore. We've got Warrior Priests of Ulrich, and they are slightly different, which I don't mind. I quite like the fact that actually at a base level, they're still a human, a pretty combat-orientated human, definitely, but they're still a human. They've got exactly the same stat line as their Sigmar counterparts, the High Priest and the Priest of Auric, compared to the Lector and Priest of Sigmar, I think it is. They also, I think, can take the exact same options for the exact same points. Again, all makes sense. They could be mounted on a variety of different things. The only difference in the mount options is Lectors of Sigmar. I don't think Priests of Sigmar can. I think it's just Lectors of Sigmar can go on a War Altar, whereas obviously the Warrior Priest of Auric can't, because there isn't a War Altar of Auric, which is a shame, because I think they could have put the rules in there, and, you know, encouraged you to convert one. However, that being said, that might be something that comes in an Arcane Journal, perhaps. I could see that, actually. That would be very cool, and I would very much like to do that. But yeah, really where their difference is their prayers, because they've also got the exact same special rules. They've got magical attacks as standard, nice little buff, and they've also got magic resistance -1, which is very cool. However, like I said, it's their prayers that are different. So for the Priest of Auric, you've got the prayers of Auric, obviously. So they're done in the command subphase, in your strategy phase, so pretty much right at the start of your turn. And you can do one of the 3 prayers that they've got. So a little different to how the battle prayers were in 8th edition, but, you know, the same sort of thing. They're not spells, though, so they can't be dispelled. That's pretty crucial. You just do a leadership test using their own leadership. It doesn't look like you can use the General's Inspiring Presence or anything like that. And then if the test is passed, the prayer takes effect. So you've got Battle Howl, Winter's Chill, and Wrath of Winter. So these either give you, will give the model and a single friendly unit that is within its command range, plus D3 to their charge results, if the unit is infantry or cavalry, and if the priest is infantry or cavalry. Winter's Chill, that is, I'm trying to remember, it's reroll reroll natural 6s to hit against them, I think, or their mount, I think. So if he's on like I'm trying to think what he could possibly take that you'd attack them out separately, Pegasus maybe, then you could potentially you'd also hit the Pegasus, reroll 6s against the Pegasus. And then Wrath of Winter, that one is multiple wounds 2 for the model and a unit as well. But I think that has to be a unit they've joined, rather than, whereas the first one is a unit within its command range. I think the other 2 are a unit if they're in it. Otherwise, it's just them. But yeah, I quite like the prayers. I don't think they're amazing. I actually think the Sigmar prayers are probably a little bit better. But just being able to actually use my Auric Priest models as Priest of Auric, don't care. I'm always going to use them as Priest of Auric. Yeah, big fan. The only time you might see me not is if I do get around to converting a War Altar into a War Altar of Auric. I might use a Warrior Priest of Sigmar so I can, you know, pay the points for it and actually use a War Altar. But most of the time, it'll be a Warrior Priest of Auric, without a doubt. Inner Circle Knights, then, is the next one. Now, obviously, these were always in 8th edition and before, I'm sure. They used to just be an upgrade to your regular knights, your core knights, but now they are a separate and crucially special choice. They're not actually core anymore, which is, I'm going to say, an interesting choice. I like that they've made them separate units, I've got to say, but I think it's a shame you can't get strength 4 knights from your core for Empire anymore, although maybe, you know, maybe they felt that was a little too good. But I think you could have limited it to 1 unit in core, perhaps. I don't know. Anyway, they're in special. They, you know, pretty standard knight, come full plate and shields. Oh, standard for Empire anyway, full plate and shields. Buy them great weapons or lances. Crucially, you can either buy them a great weapon in addition to their shield, or swap their shield for a great weapon for free. So, gives you the option of if you want to keep the improved save against shooting, which, you know, is nice. And yeah, like I said when I was talking about the Grand Master, they can buy Stubborn. I think that's any unit. I don't think it's just 1 unit. Yeah, looks on this screenshot I'm looking at, it looks like 1 unit. It looks like any unit, not just 1 unit, can buy Stubborn for a couple of points a model. Which I guess is to represent them being what would have been Reiksguard in the 8th edition book. They were basically just a stubborn knight of the Inner Circle. However, they do have the inner circle special rule. Now, this is a new rule for them, and they basically lets them reroll any to hit rolls of a 1 when they're in combat. Really like that. It's not even just on the turn they charge. That's just, they didn't have to charge to get it. That's just standard. They reroll 1s to hit. Yeah, big fan of that. I like that a lot. They look like they're not too expensive compared to Empire Knights. A little bit more, obviously, understandably, for the buff in the stat line, as well as the they've got an extra leadership by the looks of it as well, looking at this screenshot, as well as the options, for stubborn, and that inner circle rule, actually, crucially. But yeah, really looking forward to that. Big fan of, big sort of knight charges, as I'm sure you could have guessed, me having a big Bretonnian army. So yeah, looking forward to potentially allying some Empire in, actually, to there, getting some more knights into the action. Why not? What's that, fourth thing? I think that was the third thing. The fourth thing that I wanted to talk about, which looks like it's something that has changed massively, again, was very much in 8th edition. You saw them a lot. And that is the steam tank. Now, this doesn't have random movement anymore, from what I'm seeing. Which, obviously, is a big change. Before, you would generate steam points up to 5. I think it was between 1 and 5. Not sure you could generate 0. I think you had to generate 1. Anyway, between 1 and 5, and then you could put up to 3 in each of its parts, basically. Movement, or its engine, the cannon, or the steam gun. And you could put up to 3 in each bit, up to, obviously, how many steam points you generated. Absolutely, completely, 100% different. Not how it works at all. Now, it's movement 4, which seems terrible. I agree. It's movement 4. However, it has, I think it's the steam power rule. Could be getting that wrong. Might be one of his other rules. But effectively, you can roll 2 dice and take the highest and add that to its movement. I think if you roll a double, something bad happens. But so you could go up to 10. Basically, you're going 5 to 10. That's your movement. So it's not horrendous. It's certainly slower than it was before on average, because on average, if you put 3 dice into it before, the average you're getting sort of 10 and a half, 10 to 11. So, and that's the maximum you can go now. So, although to be fair, I suppose yeah, potentially not. Oh, it's a chariot. No, you're unlikely to be able to march unless they've changed that. I don't think they have. Yeah, so it does look like it's slower. Obviously, it's not random movement anymore, so it's much less, well, arguably less, arguably more manoeuvrable. Very different in how it moves. Let's just leave it at that. Let's not go into the finer details of random movement. But yeah, much different. Something else that's very different. It has gone up in toughness before I mention the next thing, which is nice. It's toughness 7. However, it's only got a 3-up armor save. Loses 2 points of armor. It's a big change. It's still got 10 wounds. Still strength 6. Pretty sure it was strength 6 before. It's got an engineer in it to bop you with his hammer if you do get it in combat, or his stick, whatever he's got. I imagine he's got a hammer. Still got the cannon. Still got the steam gun. The cannon before, in 8th edition, it was a regular cannon. Same stat line. The range of it depended on how many steam points you put in, but the sort of strength of it, effectively, and its multiple wounds, was all the same as a regular cannon. The steam cannon now, however, looks to be a set range, 24 inches, strength 8, only AP -2, with armor bane 2. And there's a little bit of text under it, just says shoots like a cannon. If a misfire is rolled, then you just lose a single wound. You don't roll on a sort of black powder misfire chart, which I'm assuming there still is. So I'm assuming cannons fire in pretty much the same way. From what I've seen of other videos, they appear to shoot in pretty much the same way. But yeah, slightly, what I'm guessing is a slightly reduced strength. Because I've not actually, I don't think, seen a regular cannon shoot yet on a battle report. I've only seen a steam tank shoot its cannon. So what I'm assuming is a slightly reduced strength. I'm guessing cannons are staying strength 10. Potentially a drop in AP as well from a regular cannon. But we'll have to wait and see if that is the case. The steam gun, fixed strength 2 now. It's a breath weapon, which I believe you can use every turn, rather than just once anyway, regularly, breath weapons, which is very good. Can't use them in combat anymore, I don't think, just in shooting. However, it's no AP, but you do not get armor saves at all. Doesn't need an AP, just ignores your armor. Still get wards, still get regeneration, but just no armour. So, big fan of that, actually. Big fan of that. Not sure if you can shoot both. I don't think so. But potentially. There's nothing that I can see that sort of specifically says you can't shoot both. So, unless it's in the core rules, perhaps you can. But I'd assume that you can probably only fire one of them each turn. But yeah, still very good. Still got chunk of impact hits, D6 plus 1. Some stomps as well. Still unbreakable, causes terror, immune psychology, all the things that you would expect. The engineer can take pigeon bombs. You know, that's nice. I wouldn't, but you could. But yeah, look. So this is one that I think is not so much I'm looking forward to using it, but actually looking forward to seeing how it works now, because it's so different. Because obviously before, well, I say before, in 8th edition, lots of people had used steam tanks, lots of people had played against them. They were a very well-known entity. These steam tanks, I think, are going to be very different and going to take a little bit of getting used to. So that's it for units. There was actually just a couple of items that I'd seen on battle reports, actually, that I wanted to mention and go through. And the first one was the Sword of Justice, which in 8th edition, I think is... Oh, I'm going to forget his name. Is it Schwarzhelm who's got the Sword of Justice? It's one of those characters. Yeah, it's not Hellborg, so it must be Schwarzhelm. He's got the Sword of Justice. And from what I can tell, it basically does the same sorts of thing as it does in 8th edition. With a little bit of changes, but generally the same sorts of thing. So you can reroll any fail to wound roll with a Sword of Justice. Very good. It is user strength, AP -1. I think it's got armor bane as well. It's quite nice. Magical attacks, as I think all magic weapons do. Not 100% sure on that, but I'd guess so. It'd be a bit weird if it doesn't. And it's multiple wounds too, all the time. So I really like that. I'd say from the weapons I have seen so far, multiple wounds seem to be a bit more common. Flaming seems to be very common, it's worth saying. But that's a side point. This isn't flaming. That was just something that popped into my head. But multiple wounds seem to be a lot more common. So yeah, really like this has got multiple wounds too. Big fan of it. I think it'd be good. I think I saw it on a general on a Imperial Griffin. I think that was the model, the old Carl Franz model, that Griffin. Because there's 2 types of Griffin, very confusing. But it was the big Griffin. And yeah, it was solid. It was very solid. The other one I quickly wanted to talk about was the Silver Horn. So this is, it looks very cheap. Character in their unit, reroll d6 for Swift Stride when they charge. Now, you might think, oh, that's not bad, you know, first time you charge in, or if you've got a long charge, you want to reroll that d6. Oh no, not one use. Not I can see anyway. Not one use at all. You can just reroll the dice every time you use a Swift Stride, the Swift Stride rule. I think that's very powerful. I can see that being on lots of Grandmasters or Chapter Masters, even Generals of the Empire, if you don't go down that route. If you want to put your General on a horse, maybe if your General's on his own and he's on a Griffin or an Imperial Griffin, anything with Swift Stride, really. I'm just, in my head, I think a character with this in a unit, you'd probably get more out of it. But it is so cheap, maybe you feel like you don't need to get loads out of it, and actually you want to guarantee getting your character into the charge, which I can absolutely understand and would, to an extent, definitely agree with. But yeah, that's, I think, certainly going to be making an appearance in a lot of lists. Will almost certainly be making an appearance in my list when I do write one for the Empire, and when I hopefully use them on the channel very soon. But for now, I've kept you long enough. That is going to be it for my first impressions on the Empire of Man, or the Empires of Man. I can't remember if it's got an S or not. That's my first impressions and what I'm really looking forward to using, and a couple of items that I just thought I'd mention as well. So thank you for joining me here today on YouTube, Triple Crown Wargaming. Make sure you head back to our page, check out all of our other videos. We've got loads of Old World reaction videos, and then all of the 8th videos before then. And if you like what you see, head over to triplecrownwargaming.com. You can sign up as a Knight of the Realm. You get access to hundreds of 8th edition videos, and you'll get exclusive access to upcoming Old World videos as well. But for now, thank you for joining me today here on YouTube, and we will see you next time.
Remember to tag your friends and like, subscribe and share. then head over to triplecrownwargaming.com and become a Knight of the Realm today.
What are you doing, mate?
You alright?